Attack me if you dare. Dance with me. How entertaining.
Greetings. This is top tier tips. Greetings everyone, this is Fortunate, your top tier tips, and I welcome you to your prime spot for tips and tricks to help you level up in Dead or Alive 6. In this session we're going to be taking a look at the Tengu princess herself, Nyotengu.
Don't be shy.
Nyotengu has decided to grace us with her presence here in DOA 6 with the purpose of avenging the previous Tengu, Bankotsubo, who was slain by Ryu Hayabusa. I will say this right now. Nyotengu is slow, really slow. To just put things in perspective, she's packing a 14 frame jab. Yes, that's right. This is 14 frames, and that's just really slow. She has a 15 frame 6P, which has follow-ups, and a 15 frame 2P, which has a 2PP follow-up. So, with Nyotengu, speed is not going to be your friend, except for one move. Nyotengu does have this sexiness right here. This is P+K. This is 10 frames to your opponent's face. Look at this move right now. Causes a nosebleed stun on normal hit, so that's like a plus 34 stun. You can basically follow up with any launcher you want, which is pretty sweet. So and this move also deals 20 damage, so that means that it out-prioritizes 10 frame jabs. So you only really have to worry about a 9 frame jab beating out. So 20 damage plus 34 stun, any follow-up, that's pretty sweet. With regards to Nyotengu's playstyle, as you could probably guess, even though P+K is nice, you don't want to be fighting close. It's just everything else is just so freaking slow. Her fastest mid kick is 16 frames, and this is a DP move, so it's really unsafe on block, even if it does have a follow-up. Right here is kind of the range you want to be able to fight with Nyotengu at. Because right here, it's going to be kind of hard for the opponent to get into you. If you run at them, you get hit by this. Of course, she has a projectile to be able to keep people in check, although I know it can be dealt with if you use it predictably. But generally with Nyotengu, you want to adopt a keep out kind of style. Anyways, once you're done Nyotengu, command training. And combo challenge? Then you're ready to dominate fools online with your Tengu Do.
I've only been toying with you.
Not quite. It's to take a little bit more than that to show why you should be the one who stands supreme.
Have mercy. Don't make me laugh.
If you like speed, Nyotengu is not the character for you. If you like flying around and controlling space and being able to set up pretty big damage, then Nyotengu is the woman for you. I want you to keep this in mind if you're intending to play Nyotengu. If you're playing Nyotengu, you're going to have to be adopting a patient playstyle. I'll stress again that she is a slow character. 14 frame jab, 15 frame mid punch, and 15 frame low jab. So basically you're going to be slower than almost every character in the cast. She's basically close to around Bass level speed. That's how slow she is. And unfortunately, she's a middleweight character as opposed to a super heavyweight, so she can still take pretty standard damage from combos. With that in mind, you can probably guess that I really don't recommend fighting with Nyotengu in close range. Unless you're fighting an opponent that is constantly leaving themselves at considerable negative on block, then in that case, you can try and fish for a P+K in close. Either 6PP or 6PPP, because on counter hit, you see 6P ends up giving you a pretty nice stun. Here, let me just put on the best box in the whole wide world and your best friend in training mode for DOA 6, the move details box. Here we go. So you get plus 20. You get plus 20 after 6P connects on counter hit. So you can launch with that 3P there. H+K will unfortunately be a little too slow. And if you do it right away, you can connect with an 8K launch, for right there, and then for easy damage, you really can just do an air throw. I mean, even right there, you just get 70 damage for just going for an air throw off of like a counter hit launch. And for lows, 2P is okay. Second hit is delayable. You also have 2K also, so but in general, in close range, your options are kind of like limited. If there is an added benefit, 8K is a good high crush launcher, so if you know if your opponent is going to go for a high, then you can just launch with 8K. You can launch with 3P also, but general rule of thumb is your go-to moves in close will be either P+K or the 6P string, and as soon as the opponent starts trying to hold or anything like that, or if you have him like staying on the defensive, you can sneak in a 6T right there for a +10 frame advantage. Fighting in your opponent's face is generally highly not recommended with Nyotengu unless your opponent keeps getting hit with P+K. Generally, a range you want to fight around is a range where you see right there your jab can reach. I mean, it's a 14 frame jab, but it's basically more of a mid-range tool than a close-range tool. Right here, as I'm showing you with the skill info right now, this jab, her 14 frame jab, goes 2.10 meters. Like, that's pretty damn good for a jab, despite its slow-ass speed, but it's +1 on normal hit. So what that would mean is that if you were to do another one, you'd be 13 frames, your 6P would be 14 frames, and your 2P would be 14 frames, which is still pretty friggin' slow, but then your P+K would become 9 frames, if that keeps in mind. So, and generally, what's actually kind of nice about this jab being +1 is that that's not the only move. Like there are follow-ups like PPK, PPP launches, for instance. So, I mean, like for go-to highs, her jab is definitely one of the recommended ones to complement the 6P string, which also has 6PK. Nyotengu's jab string effectively operates kind of like a mid-range kind of poke and slash, even like a bit of a whiff punisher tool. So basically meaning that you can use your jab to kind of poke from mid-range thanks to the over 2 meter range, but you can use it as basically your whiff punisher if you want to like kind of get your offense started, because there's actually quite a bit of variations off of her jab string. So there's like PP like 2K, or so there's like honestly a bunch of stuff like PPK, so you get your gut stun. There's PPP if you want to just launch, and you can do like a little air throw or whatever juggle of your choice. For other stuff, there's also PP6 PP, and then if you press another P, then you can go into her fly stance right there. And she also has a couple guard breaks too. So if you do PP 6P on block, you'll be left at -11. That's because PP 6PP is another guard break. It's -5, so it's a negative guard break, but it pushes the opponent away, which is not necessarily a bad thing with Nyotengu. Pushing the opponent away is usually a good thing. If you do PP 6P and you press P+K, then you can go into her Hiten-No-Mai, or I just call it the H and M stance, which as you see leaves Nyotengu leaves her at advantage, so around like +5, or the frames can vary depending on when you go into the Hiten-No-Mai stance. So just press P+K right as the PP6P hits on block. But if you want a higher advantage guard break, there's PP, not that one, not PPP, PP4P. See right here, you're left at +12. Even though Nyotengu's back turn options are kind of slow, but you have a 14 frame high kick for turnaround, so that will beat out any retaliation the opponent does. You have an 18 frame low jab, which will also beat out any retaliation the opponent does. But do note that that the options that the low jab like won't track, the high kick here won't track, even though PP4P itself tracks, which is pretty nice because in general Nyotengu's tracking options are kind of slow and maybe usually unsafe on block. And if you'd like a mid option out of PP4P, then you can use her back turn 4K. It's 22 frame mid kick, but if you're at plus 12, this will generally beat out almost anything the opponent will do aside from trying to mash out jabs or anything like that. If you're reasonably certain that your jab is probably going to connect on your opponent, that includes on normal hit, then you can go for Nyotengu's PK. You see right here, the second hit has tracking capability, which is nice to know, and as you see right there, it bounce launches the opponent right away, so you can go for like a little like combo after it if you like, including setting up like a ground throw attempt. I'll give you a heads up that ground throw setup's usually going to be techable, but it looks pretty cool, so I like it. But do note that the second hit is unsafe on block, so you can't really mash it out because -8 is enough to get 7-frame throw punished. If your opponent is expecting the 6 PP, which admittedly is essentially your go-to mid punch, a cool thing that Nyotengu has is that she can go into her H and M stance off of the first 6P. So you can end up bounding the opponent if you do like PPP. So because people are generally going to be trying to hold the follow-up punches off this. So if you just do one, then and go for an option right away, then you can basically kind of like mix up the opponent a little bit, go for different stuff. Although you have to be careful if they do try and block it for, well, you can't go into the stance. You can't go into the stance after. You can't go into the stance after it's blocked, but be careful that the opponent can grab your option, so in that case, that's why you have this. And this. Alright, we're going to be taking a look at Nyotengu from mid-range. Alright, on top of everything I said regarding the jab, like right here, this is a perfectly fine poke from mid-range. You can also use other moves along with your jab. You can also use like the 6 PP string. I will let you know if you actually do the third hit on block, you will be safe on block at -5. So this one is a perfectly fine poke for advancing on your opponent. The big thing about it is very delayable, and of course there's other stuff like 6 PK, which I admit the 6 PK is unsafe, but 6 PP just -5. For your your go-to go-in move will be 6-6K. And I'll show you right here, this move is quite safe on block. It's a 20-frame move, so it's only -2. So I would say usually after -2 you can easily like fuzzy guard, or well, with Nyotengu the only buttons you're gonna get is either a crush like 2P, or if you're gonna try and a bar someone who's gonna try and retaliate with a 6P like an elbow or a forward punch, you can end up doing like a P+K. But generally at -2 you are at disadvantage, and of course at times -2 with Nyotengu can feel like -5 or online like -20. So yeah, that is something to keep in mind, but still though, I mean -2 is still quite good. For some mid-range pokes, you can use stuff like 3K right here. You see it is -9 on block, but it has a follow-up that goes in the H and M stance, leaves you at +3. If the move does connect, then you could use the P+K option out of HMN as for a follow-up. But for other things, like 3K is good. I mean, a 17-frame mid-kick poke, unfortunately, I think is pretty much one of the faster, if not her fastest mid-kick poke. Other pokes you can use is, along with her jab string, her K is pretty nice on block too. You see right here, you're +2. It's a 15-frame high kick, which isn't really terrible. I mean, I know most high kicks are usually faster, but by Nyotengu standards, 15 frames is perfectly fine. It does have a follow-up that high crushes really well, and I think it's the same as like 6K or forward kick. This actually high crushes really well. I actually think there's even mid-crush frames here, so yeah, this move can go under some horizontal mid-attacks. It is a high attack. We see right here, it gives you +13. Do you know something that's actually kind of nice about +13 with Nyotengu? If you could do it in a wall in the corner, you get this move for free. So this move can become really dangerous for an opponent in the corner. It's the same as like KK or 6K. P+K is you get that for free at a wall. And see that plus 34 frame advantage. So delicious. Alright, we're going to be looking at Nyotengu's crush moves right now, so high and low crushes. Your go-to high crush with Nyotengu will straight up be your 2P. A single 2P is not really that good. See, you're left at -6 on normal hit. What you're trying to do is hit the second part, so you're at plus 11, so at plus 11, as unfortunately it does push back quite a bit. But with plus 11, you can try and sneak in something like your 6K. Your 3K won't reach. Your jab can still reach at +1, so like 6K jab, stuff like that is good. The main thing about this is 2P is very delayable. Same with like 2KK, even though this move doesn't crush like 2P does. But both of these are basically Nyotengu's they're going to be her more used lows. She also has her 2H+K. This move also does crush like 2P. It's pretty slow at 23 frames, but this will be your tracking low attack. See, it has multiple. Does have multiple follow-ups, and it can go into her lift stun counter hit launcher, which is the same as like H+K. And you see, it's very delayable. The last hit ends up causing a knockdown. So that you can use this move to trip opponents up a bit. So change it up from either doing like a single hit, 2 hits, or doing all 3 hits, or even sometimes just going straight up for the follow-up afterwards. When finding a bit out from your opponent, which is you should really be trying to do with Nyotengu, if you know the opponent may do a high or may end up like whiffing something, particularly whiffing a high, this is where you can try and nail them with 6K. It has really good high crush properties. The move's biggest weakness is that it's slow and it's high, and it's also linear. But see, if this move hits or gets blocked, it's good. I showed you earlier, if it does get blocked, you're at plus 13. So that means you could do a P+K in the corner. In open space, you see it just whiffs. But yeah, but at a corner, it can be, if you can somehow manage to get the opponent to block this in a corner, it becomes really good. But in open space, it's a whiff punisher, and look how much space it ends up creating for you. I mean, for Nyotengu, moves that end up like knocking the opponent away or knock them back is really good, and 6K is no exception to that rule. Another high crush move that you can use with Nyotengu is her 3P+K. As you see right there, it causes a flop back bound on normal hit, and if the move gets blocked, then you're fully safe on block at -5. It's the same as like her PP6 PP, so it is a pretty solid high crush move to toss out. It's not really intended to be used like right in your opponent's face unless they leave themselves at a lot of disadvantage or you really know that a high is going to be coming out. So from like around a little bit of mid-range out, it's a nice move to toss out. A nice little kind of attribute about this move is if you press the P option on hit after the move, then you go into her flying stance, also called the Karasu Tobi stance, but which I'm probably just to call the fly stance from here on out. So press P, and you can end up doing some follow-ups. For instance, you can do some stuff like, you could do like after doing a 3P+K P, you could do 1 P+K into HMM stance P+K. Or you can also just do 1 PPP and set up a ground throw attempt right there. So yeah, so I really like this move as basically your high crush move with nice reward. If you'd like a less safe high crush option, there's 8K, launches on normal hit, gives you a free air throw, gives you 57 damage. But this move also is also 18 frames and is -12 on block, so that means free punish throw. For low crush options, use 7K, 16 frame mid kick. Get pretty good solid damage and knockback. And like I mentioned earlier, anything that knocks the opponent away is really good with Nyotengu. So this also is kind of like your DP move, even though it's 16 frames. It's a little slow in terms of interruption, but this move will blow up lows really nicely. You can also jump over lows with Nyotengu's jump stance, and she even got a new dive kick out of it. And you can even also use it to cross up your opponent and launch him with a back turn 4P. Alright, we're going to be taking a look at Nyotengu from long range out. Like if you are fighting with Nyotengu from long range, your focus is going to be around keep out, which Nyotengu can do really well. Alright, the first tool that I want you to keep note of is, I mean, mainly for something I want your opponent to keep note of, is can come off as a bit gimmicky, but it's her 4P+K P. Alright, with this move, you can hold it down for like a... You can hold it down for like a tremendous amount of frames. 254 frames, and it just releases automatically. Or you can release it yourself, like the minimum is I think like 60 frames. Like, well, around 60-ish frames. So the move, I'll let you know, is... The move is tracking. It can also hit grounded, so you can't sidestep to avoid it. You can't like lie on the ground or any. You can't lie on the ground to avoid it. It will end up hitting you. So, so this move though is something dangerous to the opponent to point out. But like I said, it is a bit of a gimmick. So if they know how to deal with it, then you can't really spam it on anyone. If the opponent gets hit by it, good. If they block it, that's okay, like at range, even though the opponent can still kind of like try and run into after. If the opponent somehow blocks it in close range, and it pushes back even further. But if it gets used in close range, then the move can be held. And if it gets held though at range, like the projectile part, then the opponent will just end up doing like a little like sidestep type thing. If they do hold it, then yes, for people that do hold it on reaction, then yeah, they will basically just take advantage of it and get in. In that case, you have to use cancels. Just press the guard button right here. Try and fake out the opponent. I mean, it's like, I know there's even something like the biggest gimmick that people love doing is just canceled out and go for the throw after like 9p throw. But yeah, I mean, this move is like the main thing for the opponent to look at. If the opponent does run at you or anything like that, whack him with 7k. Alright, heads up, as you can see, the move is very unsafe there at -21. But it pushes back quite a bit, so it can be tricky to punish. The opponent will have to strike punish you, and of course they have to be wary of this move. If the opponent blocks some 7pk, you will be really unsafe. So these moves are... 7k can throw off people that aren't really on point with their punishment, because you can delay the second part like a lot. But yeah, this will be your go-to move for blasting people away that run in at you carelessly. Just like from mid-range, 6k is still your go-to poke if you need to get in on the opponent from either long or mid-range. For opponents that run at you, along with 7k, 3p+k is still good also. If you would like to create space with Nyotengu, aside from blasting the opponent away with 4p+k, your save option is you have 7p. The nice thing is that this move pretty much looks a lot like 7k. So if you end up doing 7k and the opponent thinks you just did 7p, then you can occasionally sneak in the k. But this move is generally good for creating space. You can also just use some baits with like 7p, p+k to go into HMN stance right there. So as you can see right here, Nyotengu is definitely one of the zoning characters in DOA 6. Alright, we're going to take a look at Nyotengu's throw game right now. Nyotengu's throw game is quite good. Although she doesn't possess a 4-frame neutral grab, right here's her 5-frame neutral grab, 50 damage, and can cause floor damage if the floor is a danger zone like on the lap stage. Her throws are still really good. Like her 50 damage from her neutral throw is pretty good. Her go-to punish throw, of course, is her 7p. See, this one gives her +10. So you can usually go for like a 6p after it, a 6k, a 3k. So you see 6k. 6k is a nice go-to because it's because you're at +10. Your 20-frame move will become essentially like a 10-frame move. It's tracking, so the opponent can't sidestep it. You get +18 on it, so you can get more follow-up pokes off it, or even launch with 3p, for instance. So this throw is pretty nice. Unfortunately, pushes a little out of range to just keep spamming it. They even gave a new follow-up to this. If you press the T button when you see combo throw. then you can get a full 55 damage if you end up just hitting the T again in the combo throw. So that 55 damage will end up being like, I think like almost, I can check, it's like almost 90 on high counter. Yeah, 88 on high counter. So basically, if you want to use it for the damage, you go for the follow-up. If not, just take the frame advantage. Nyotengu's 10 frame throw is pretty solid. So right here, it's just her 4T, or her back T, does 64 damage, so that will be quite a lot on high counter, like around 100 damage or slightly above it. See right here, you get 101 damage for that, so that's pretty much around a third of the health bar. So you do that, you hit that 3 times, well, you win. So because the health bar are 300 health in DOA 6, so her Nyotengu's 10 frame throw on high counter does nice damage. But of course, the main go-to throw apart from 7T with Nyotengu is her 12 frame throw, which can be used just to launch the opponent, or of course the punish holds. As you can see right there, you get, from just launching the opponent with that, you get 62 damage plus a bound opportunity. And of course, things get even more nuts under a ceiling. To complement Nyotengu's throw game, she also is equipped with offensive holds, because most slow characters tend to usually have these. For Nyotengu, it's her forward T. So she has a 16 frame offensive hold, so being an offensive hold, also known as a catch throw, it will beat the onset of strikes. So anytime you have like a slight advantage over the opponent, or if you think the opponent's gonna do a slow move, you can usually sneak this in like pretty easily. So even if you're like even if you're at like really like negative or something like that, like after this you could try and sneak this in if you think the opponent may go for like a not something as fast as like a jab, but like maybe like an elbow or something. Then you can try and like sneak this in. This move is also pretty nifty in the sense that if you do it to an opponent, like at a wall, for instance, then you end up causing the slump down stance that leaves you at plus 48. You also have an opportunity to get a follow-up on it too if you press the P button where you see combo hold. And you can get a 60 damage offensive hold for that. But with the slump status, the opponent cannot perform a wake-up comeback kick after that, so this hold can be really dangerous in corners. And with plus 48, you still get like complete frame advantage over the opponent, so you can try and pressure the opponent some more. Try and go for your other throws, of course. Nyotengu's low throws are good. This is just her 5 frame low throw. That's 65 damage. So that's over 100 damage on high counter. So I mean, this is her 10 frame low throw. 72 damage on normal throw. Let's see what that is on high counter. Not to mention it looks freaking epic. A jump in, oh wow, that animation. 123 damage on high counter, and you get such an awesome looking animation. So even if you just go for the 5 frame, you get 104 damage. Nyotengu also possesses a low offensive hold, because generally characters who have a stand-in offensive hold have a low offensive hold. Her low offensive hold is also 10 frames and deals only 44 damage. So anytime the opponent goes into some sort of crouching stance or does any sort of like crouching move or whatever, you can use this move to beat it out. And here, this is like really good against any crouching stances like Ayane's spinning, Helena's Bokuho, Brad Wong's like lay down, Christie's Jikayo, so all this is good. But of course, Anytime the opponent likes to really do low holds, this move will basically just ruin their day, and holy freak, it looks epic. Nyotengu has a bunch of specialty throws too. Out of her Karasu Tobi flying stance, she has a 5-frame throw, which is honestly really hard to react to. You get 58 damage for it, which is like probably around like 92 on high counter. But for this throw though, it's like really hard to react to. So in order for the opponent to beat it out, they have to react to you flying. As an alternative, you did gain a new attack out of it, because it used to be all you can do out of it was the throw, but you also get the die kick. So what the opponent has to do to deal with this is that they need to attack you right away as soon as they see you flying. But if you do this from any time you have an advantage, then you can usually sneak this in like pretty easily. And of course, if the opponent thinks that they can just duck everything, and you got this also, they have to think again. A low throw also does 58 damage, so that's, I mean, that's like pretty like crazy. And as you may have noticed, Nyotengu has an air throw. Just press the T button. Anytime the opponent's airborne, you should be able to get it, so even like a simple 8k is usually enough. She has a second. She also has an air throw out of her H&M stance. Like you can do it for fairly simple damage, like for instance off of her launcher throw. So after you do 8 PPP, press P+K, then you'll go into the stance and just press the T button. Then you can get the other air throw. You get an extra 3 damage over a. You get an extra 3 damage over the standard air throw. Both of them can do floor damage also, so generally go for the HMN throw like whenever you get a chance. And also, Nyotengu also has ground throws. Like for instance, anytime you get a hard knockdown on the opponent, just press 2T and you can get that throw. If the opponent has their back on the ground, you get a different throw animation. You get slap, slap, slap right there, as opposed to, for instance, if you just knock them down and their stomachs on the ground and you get this throw. Both of them do pretty much around the same damage. You can also do it from a flying stance too, which is pretty awesome. So you get access to it even when you're flying. So both the stand-in throw and the low throw. So essentially, the opponents just cannot lay on the ground for Nyotengu. I mean, her throw game is pretty much akin to a grappler. You don't get quite as much damage as like what Athena or Bats would get during their throw game. But I mean, like, but in terms of like versatility, Nyotengu just has a really good throw game. And I mean, like, just this throw and these two throws right here are just awesome in themselves. Nyotengu could be really dangerous when she knocks the opponent into the environment with anything, including something like even like her 4P+K close hit move. But stuff like her 7k P can knock the opponent into the environment pretty easily and can also knock back pretty far. Same with like 6P+K, 6k. So like Nyotengu has a bunch of moves that can knock the opponent pretty far. So it's no surprise that she's also pretty dangerous when she has the opponent to the wall. I will of course warn you that naturally her wall slamming moves are not necessarily the fastest things. Like you can use stuff like her 5k, also known as her neutral K. Her PK right here is a 14 frame. I mean, her K is 15 frames. Punch kick is a 14 frame wall slam starter, and PK is just a pretty good move in general. But I also like stuff like H+K, because if you press the P+K after the move hits, you can go into her H&M Hiten-No-Mai stance, which can allow you to. It can set up a bound with H&M PPP. And you can end up like setting up some pretty devastating damage off of it. As you saw right there, the bound can lead to some really brutal damage in a corner. But if you just wall slamming with something like PK or like 6k for instance, then after this, you can use 6PPP. You can use 1 PP, P+K, P+K. Or you can also do. You can also use 1 PPP, which gives you a free ground throw attempt. Either option is perfectly fine. If you get the small wall bounce off of something like counter hit 3K, then just launch the opponent with 8K in a corner, because the other launchers tend to wall slam where 8K doesn't. Alright guys, that's it for now. Alright, the main thing you have to know with playing Nyotengu is that you're gonna have to adopt a very patient playstyle. It's pretty much a common theme here. She is just pretty slow all round. That includes also she has pretty slow tracking moves also. So the main thing to keep in mind is just try and adopt the space and zoning game as much as possible. Like, just don't fight with the opponent in close and focus on either trying to stun them with P+K, 6 PP, or just simply kind of like blasting the opponent away. So like either that is fine. Also, stuff involved in her H&M stance. For this stance right here, for moves that lead into it, such as even something like a 6 P+K or other stuff like H+K, you have to press the move after the move connects, so it's called like an on-hit move. It's not really a formal just frame, even though it could be considered an on-hit just frame. It's just that after the move connects, just press P+K. Same with like 8 PP, stuff like that. The same applies also to something like 3 P+K P or PP6 P. For those moves right there, you have to press the P after the move connects, or sometimes it may not like work as well, but with a little practice you can get it down pretty easily. Also, the main thing to keep in mind with Nyotengu is a big thing with her is control and space, so feel free to, anytime you need to create space, feel free to use either 7P, which looks like 7K, or if you need to close the distance, you have your 9P and you can do your dive kick or throw, either option, to complement also your 6K. Anyways, that's it for now. If you have any further questions, feel free to contact me on my YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, so that means leaving a comment down below. You can also contact Force of Nature on freestepdodge.com, and also feel free to check out my other guides, both top tier tips advanced guides and my other character guides. I mean, it's getting pretty prolific now for DLA 6. And also, if you'd like to support the channel, feel free to join Top Tier Fighters. The support does help, and I appreciate those that have joined. I also want to give a shout out to UGS Nyotengu for the awesome Nyotengu text guide that he put together. I'll post a link to it down below if you'd like to check it out, because it goes over more stuff than I went over here, and more stuff in detail, including also how to deal with Nyotengu if the Tengu Princess gives you any sort of trouble. But yeah, anyways, this will be Force Nature signing off. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Top Tier Tips.
Winner! How truly, truly enjoyable.